Welcome back to the Doorkickers player channel. Now, I do recommend that you put this video in 2x speed for your viewing pleasure. I tend to sometimes talk a little slowly because I'm trying to figure out what to say or because I'm trying not to use any filler words like or etc. So I find it personally for me that it's easier to watch the video or listen to the video while you're eating or doing something else if it's on 2x speed. So go ahead and do that now. That being said, let's get into it. All right, this is mission 42, house call 4122 Washington. Now, I'm excited for this one because this was the first one that I actually started recording all of my attempts. And what I'm going to do from here on out is I'm going to put all of the attempts on 100x speed just for fun because I think it's kind of fun. So I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to show the final attempt and I'm going to narrate along with the final attempt. I might just do it that I'm yeah, I'll play the actual attempt like when I drew everything and then we'll just watch the final run through together. That makes the most sense. It's essentially the equivalent of doing it live and then uploading it, except that I can't voice over while I'm doing it live because that would take way too much work. And also because hell no. This thing took me like 2 hours. It took me a total. It's 1 minute, 1 hour, 22 minutes, and 14 minutes and 58 seconds. So in two separate days, right? In two separate attempts. Um, yeah. So like a total of 35, 30, 38 minutes ish, 37 minutes. Yeah. It was long. It took me a long time. So I'm not going to be narrating for an hour plus 2 hours, right? An hour and a half. That's not going to happen. So I'll just do it this way where I play the entire thing in 100x speed and then I do the last attempt and narrate over that. That seems like the best idea. All right, here we go. So as I started playing it, I realized that there was no audio. So it's just going to be a couple minutes of silence. Um, but yeah, in the future ones, there is audio, so don't worry about that. But this one doesn't. All right, so this is the last attempt. This is what you're seeing now is a freeze frame of the map, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about the map, about the mission. Um, like I said, this took about an hour and a half plus to finish and complete this mission, so it was kind of difficult. It was very frustrating, and that typically happens to me in future missions when the map is pretty big. When the map is big, that means that the tangos can there's a ton of tangos, and those tangos can take down your operators so quickly. It really is frustrating. Now, there are two floors here. So do keep that in mind. This isn't a one floor. This is a two-floor map, and it's this big of a map. So it's pretty damn difficult. All right. Um, I've got 4 operators, and they're gonna walk along the outside wall, and we're gonna talk about each step as we go along. I do have the last attempt. I have it set up to go in 0.75 speed so that I can talk about everything going on, and then at the end we'll play the replay at normal speed so that you guys can see, just so that you guys can just watch it, no interference. So if you're here just for that, feel free to skip all the way to the end. Um, all right, is there anything special about this map? Not really. We've got all this outside area where the cars are. Not really going to pay much attention to it. I think that there was just a time crunch, and I was just like, you know what? Screw it. And there is this window area. You know what? Now that I think of it, I do think that we go outside in the end. I think in the end we do come back around, but I'm not sure about that. All right, let's yeah, let's get to it. All right, so as you can see, I have the operators on the outside. We'll set up to go on the outside wall, and we take out that first tango that's standing by that door there. And now I'm going to do something interesting. I'm going to stop the 2 operators that are closer to the inside wall, and sometimes it's difficult to get them to stop. And I have the operators that are closer to the outside wall. They're going to go ahead a little bit because that gives them a little bit of a lead to be able to see any threats coming from their left side. It's yeah, it creates a pretty big advantage. It makes sure that the operators stay safe when we do that trick. I'll pause it here and explain it. So when you have operators going down a hallway, they're gonna identify threats faster from the opposite side. So hypothetically, if we were going down a hallway straight and I'm on the right side and you're on the left side, I would be more likely to see someone standing in a doorway on the left, and you would be more likely to see someone standing in a doorway on the right. So the way that translates to this hallway, because there's only a doorway on the left, right? If we're the operators and we're going down this hallway from the one side to the four, from the two side to the four side, then the operators on the three side are more likely to identify threats from the one side. So by having them go a little bit ahead, they're going to be able to identify threats first, deal with those threats before the operators that are closer to the one side are even in the line of sight of the tangos. And so that's why I did that. And evidently it worked out because they were able to see those threats that were inside the building and start taking out those threats as they moved along. And then as soon as they passed the doorway, they got to the other side, creating an X line of sight, right? If the line of sight were lines, then it would create an X because you have, let's say, operators 1 and 2 were closer to the one side, and operators 3 and 4 were closer to the 3 side. Then operators 3 and 4 are now looking towards the 1-2 corner, and operators 1 and 2 are looking towards the 1-4 corner. So what happened there was, as the operators were taking out the threats, as operators 3 and 4 were taking out the threats inside the building, they were maneuvering to clear that first room. I forget what the term is. The term is pieing from the outside. So operators 3 and 4 pied the room from the outside, and operators 1 and 2. Well, I guess it was just operator 3 and operator 1 who were taking out the tangos, but operator 1 continued taking out the tangos that were in his line of sight. And once they had that cleared, operator 1 goes ahead and throws a flashbang. So operator 1 is gonna throw a flashbang as soon as I press play. I guess I was kind of just waiting to see what I want to do here, or maybe I paused to go do something else. All right, here we go. So as we can see, there was some tangos that passed by, but that tango kept on moving, so I wasn't really worried about it. If that operator hadn't kept on moving, I would have pulled back operator 1 and 2. So now I'm just drawing the lines, and so these operators are now going to flow into the room, and I'm just making sure that the operators are looking in the right direction as they flow into the room. And you can see that I have the operator 2. You can see I have him not moving towards the main room, but I have him taking cover behind operator 1. And that's to keep him safe, because now we're going to start throwing flashbangs in there. And that keeps the operator safe because it subdues the enemies, it disorients the tangos, giving the operators time to move in. And so as soon as those flashbangs pop, the operators are going to move in, and we're going to do a hook, because essentially you want the first operator to go towards the biggest threat inside the room. And the biggest threat right now is that massive open area. So having operator 1 move towards the 3 side is actually a mistake here. He should have hooked, and operator 2 should have gone towards that far side. But this was the path that I chose. And because we had disoriented the enemies, we were able to subdue them all. I guess eliminate them all. And as you can see here, I have operator 4 again opening the door and then hooking while operator 3 flows. And now operator 1 is going to do the same. Operator 1 is going to go towards that room, hook, and then face towards the bigger threat, while operator 2 is going to hook as well because he's coming from the opposite side. And really, the operators should have flowed. Operators 1 and 2 should have flowed into that room, but I made the mistake of not having him wait. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to have operator 1 just stand there for a second. Now operator 4 in the blue and operator 3 in the orange, they're going to go ahead and move in. They're going to go ahead and hook. And as you can see, operator 1, I had him wait for operator 2. And now that we cleared that outside area, we'll clear that room and we'll clear that patch of grass where the lawn is. I'm going to have operators 1 and 2 move towards the outside where the cars are, and they're going to go ahead and flow. Oh, I guess they're going to hook. They should be flowing. They shouldn't be hooking. They should be flowing. But I had them hook here, while operators 3 and 4 move into that small bathroom, hook, and flow. So now that bathroom is clear, we're going to have them keep moving. Now this part is tricky because there could be operators coming out of those rooms while their backs are turned. So you want to move quickly. You don't want to waste time throwing flashbangs. You just want to move quickly. So operator 3 in the orange is going to hook into that room because that's the greater threat area, while operator 2 moves towards the 2 side. Operator 4 is moving towards the 2 side. Now that the room is clear, we're not going to waste time moving into the room. We're immediately going to go into the next room. We're going to have operator 4, flow into that room, while operator 3 hooks into that room, which is the correct way to do it. The first guy flows, if that's where the greater threat is, and the second guy hooks. And we're going to do the exact opposite here. We're going to have operator 3 hook into that room because that's where the greater threat is. And we're going to have operator 4 flow into that room. Now, let me just pause for a second and explain the concept of greater threat, because we use this a lot in the future missions, so it's going to be easier for me to explain it now, and then I can reference this later on. So the greater threat, or going towards the greater threat, is the opposite of running the rabbit. Running the rabbit is, if let's look at the room on the 1-2 side, right? So that 1-2 corner. So that room, we opened it from the 1 side, staying outside of the fatal funnel. And so as we open the door, the first corner that we clear inside that room is the 2-3 corner. The second corner that we can see as we walk into that room is the 1-2 corner, and the last corner that we see as we're entering the room, let's say if we're hooking, the last corner that we see is the 1-4 corner. So running the rabbit would mean that operator 3 opens the door and then runs straight into the 2-3 corner, while operator 4 comes into the room behind him and goes into the 1-4 corner, and then they both sort of converge their lines of sight and focus on the 1-2 corner. That would be running the rabbit. The opposite of running the rabbit is going towards the greater threat. So that would mean that the operator who opens the door, the first operator to go through the door, it doesn't have to be the same operator, and it doesn't have to not be the same operator, but in the game it's the same operator. So the operator that's the first through the door is going to go to the 1-4 corner. That's the going towards the greater threat. And the reason we would do that is because in the game, when the operator hooks into that room and looks towards that corner, he clears the entire room. And if there are any tangos in that room, we'll see those tangos right as that operator goes into that hook. Whereas if we ran the rabbit, while it might be the SOP for clearing a certain space for specific units, in the game, it doesn't pay off as much as it should. In the game, you want to either flow into the room or go towards the greater threat, because the faster you can identify a threat, the faster the threat goes down. So the way that translates into this situation is, we're still talking about the same room on the 1-2 corner. So if operator 3, who's the first one to go through the door, hooks and goes towards that 1-4 corner, he'll essentially be clearing the entire room. And that way, if there are any threats in that room, he'll start taking them out right away. Now, what would we do if, let's say, there was a threat in the 2-3 corner, right? Well, then as we open the door, we immediately notice that corner. So we just stop the operator, we hold the operator where he is, and just have operators 3 and 4 take him out before they even enter the room. But that means that they're both in the fatal funnel. So they have to take him out and then move quickly, hooking into the room. Because the faster you can hook an operator into the room, the less time there is for the tangos to take him out. So in the game, you want to go towards the greater threat. So if the greater threat is in that 1-4 corner, you want to just have the first operator go towards that 1-4 corner so that he can visually clear the room before he even looks at that 1-4 corner. And so that when he gets to the 1-4 corner, when his line of sight gets to the 1-4 corner, we already know where all the tangos are. Now, in real life, would this translate the same way? Not necessarily. In real life, go take a CQB class. I really can't help you. But in the game, it really pays off to have the operators go towards the greater threat. And so the mistake that we made in the room just above that, in the room in the 2-3 corner, was that the operator who opened the door, he ran the rabbit. And when you run the rabbit in the game, it could end up costing the operator his life depending on the kind of weapons that the tangos have. So I don't recommend running the rabbit in the game. And so whenever I use the term having the operators move towards the greater threat, what I mean is the opposite of running the rabbit. So the operator is going to hook into the room or move into the room where the greater threat is and move towards the greater threat, whichever corner that may be. And the second operator is going to flow, which is the reverse. It's the opposite of running the rabbit. Running the rabbit means the first operator goes into the room and the second operator goes to the greater threat, right? So when I say the operator is going towards the greater threat, it's the opposite of running the rabbit. All right, so now that we've cleared now that we've cleared all of the entire interior except for the downstairs, I don't know if there's a reason I'm not going to the basement, but oh wow, okay, that was interesting. So apparently the last tango was on the outside, and you can kind of see him right under, right by the second car from the right on the one side. And so when operators 1 and 2 cleared that outside, they took him out, and that ended the mission. So I never actually went to the basement. Now I'm curious what's in the basement. I'm curious to find out what's in the basement now. Genuinely. But all right, well, I guess that's it. Let's watch the replay. All right, well, that was 44 seconds. That took more than an hour and a half to complete. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like. If you want to see more of these kinds of videos, make sure to subscribe. And if there's anything that you want to see or hear in these videos, feel free to let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next video.